Hi friends, welcome back to Healing Home. My name is Rachel and I am the creator of both, this is big news by the way, healinghome.co, where we talk about homemaking and motherhood and how our faith is infused and incorporated into both those. And also, here's the big news, healinghomerecipes.co. All of my recipes from Healing Home have now been transferred over to healinghomerecipes.co, and all of my recipes and Trim Healthy Mama content and coaching content can now be found at Healing Home Recipes. This video is going to be a recipe tutorial of how to create my spaghetti squash chili. Now, before we get into the spaghetti squash chili, and I have my spaghetti squash right here that I'll be making the soup with, let's do a little chit chat and get you caught up on what's going on in our lives. And as always, I would love to know what's going on in your guys' life. Feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram or comment on this video on YouTube so we can get connected and I can find out what's going on in your life, what kind of content you guys would like to see from me, and anything else. I always love chit-chatting with you guys. Here at our homestead, things are getting cold, and I feel like I've been saying that for a very long time, but truly the rubber is meeting the road, and right now it's about 28 degrees. I took Wilder outside for our daily kind of jaunt down to the chicken coop. We try to do that every morning just to get some fresh air, and even if it's only just a brief walk, it just is rejuvenating to me and it helps clear my head. I always start working really early in the morning, so that little jaunt down to the chicken coop is like my refocus, so I can get refocused on my kids and just stuff besides work. So work is done and we take a jaunt down to the chicken coop. Wilder came with me this morning, and as you can see from this video here, he was pretty chilly, so I don't know how much longer he's going to be taking those jaunts down with me. The chickens are also starting to just kind of feel that cold. They're not venturing quite as far away as they used to. They're staying closer to the coop. Our pigs are butchering days coming up pretty fast, which I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I've never raised an animal for butchers, so I guess I'll let you guys know how I feel about that after it actually comes. And that's what's going on as far as the stuff outside. The garden has been put to bed. We are still homeschooling here, which isn't that big of a deal because both of our children are in the preschool, pre-K age group, and so it's a lot of fun things like sensory tables. This week is F week, so F is for fish, and we're doing some fun activities with that. We're contemplating for next year doing my In My Father's World Christian curriculum, and I've been researching that and getting excited for the possibility of diving into that for kindergarten next year. But we always have a lot of fun with the preschool stuff. I used to be a pre-K teacher, and so all of the pre-K world is very familiar to me and fun to do with my kids. The only other thing that we have going on right now is our morning time. Our morning time has been very refreshing to me every day after I get done with work. After we go on that jaunt down to the chicken coop, we come back and we meet at the kitchen table and we read a Bible story. And it's we don't do this every single day, but especially during the week when my husband's traveling and I'm working from home. 2 days a week I do go into the office, but even on those 2 days we try to meet at the kitchen table before we all disperse for the day, read a Bible story, and have breakfast together. And that has been so healing to me, to have that routine, that one-on-one time with my kids where I can make that eye contact even on work days. And it's been so helpful. We've been doing 2 Bibles. It's been my storybook Bible, and then also a Bible that is slipping my mind right now, the name of it. Bible stories and prayers. And the reason why I like this Bible for kids is that at the end of each story, it has a prayer where you insert your kids' name into sort of the theme of the story. And my kids really love connecting with that Bible because that prayer at the end solidifies the lesson that the Bible story is trying to communicate. That prayer at the end has really produced some interesting questions for my kids. So I highly recommend those two kids' Bibles if you are doing a morning time with Bible stories with your kids. Okay, let's get started on a recipe. We are going to be making a very cozy soup today, our spaghetti squash chili. I love making chili this way because it has the added nutrients of a squash or a vegetable, and it is very Trim Healthy Mama and even keto friendly, because even though squashes, especially a spaghetti squash, is a little higher in carbohydrates, not by much, but each serving size will have between a half a cup and a full cup of spaghetti squash, and that is well within the limits of a Trim Healthy Mama S meal or a keto friendly meal as well. So besides the spaghetti squash, there are a few other things that you're gonna need. For whatever reason, I can't memorize this list today for some reason, so I'm actually reading it from my tablet. Usually I memorize my recipes, but for whatever reason, I'm having mom brain today and I just can't remember the ingredient list. But you're gonna need a large spaghetti squash. We're gonna cook that thing up. You can use 2 pounds of Italian sausage, kidney beans or black beans, whatever you prefer. Now please have some discernment with the beans, because yes, this is a squash recipe. About a cup of squash has about 10 grams of carbohydrates. Then you add the kidney beans on top of that, and you are getting really close to a Trim Healthy Mama crossover. So just be discerning with just how much of this recipe you are consuming. If you feel like eliminating the kidney beans, you're still gonna have a delicious soup, but you might not be able to call it chili. You're also going to need a can of unsweetened cocoa milk. You also can sub a almond milk, so 1 cup of almond milk instead of the 15-ounce can of coconut milk. The coconut milk the canned coconut milk does bring a very sweet flavor, so you get sweet and savory in this recipe, which is why I call it an almost chili, because of that. I call it almost because it does have that sweet flavor too, but it's a very sweet and savory chili flavor that I think tastes really good. Give it a try. You can tell me you don't like it if you don't like it, and I won't be offended, but I really love it. So you'll need that coconut milk, you'll need some vegetable broth or water, some fresh basil, or in my case I am using dried basil, some sage, some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some chili powder. And you basically combine all of that into a big stock pot or a cast iron pot, depending on what you prefer. And you let that simmer, and the smells are just so stinking delicious and really cozy for a cold fall day. So I am going to get started making this recipe, and you guys can come along in my kitchen. I'm going to give you one more tip before we get going. When you are cooking your spaghetti squash, so many people cut it what I would call hot dog style, right? This way. If that's how you cut your spaghetti squash, great. But I do want to say that if you cut it hamburger style like this, it fits in my oven so much better, and it also is easier to grab with your hand. So when you go to scoop out the spaghetti squash, instead of having like this big long spaghetti squash, you have a it's just cupped perfectly for your hand, and I have found I can scoop out the spaghetti squash meat so much more easy. I can scoop out the spaghetti squash more easy. I'm still struggling with that. Okay, what is it? Is it more easy? Easilier? Oh man, somebody's gonna watch this and they're gonna like have a heyday with correcting me. Regardless of what the proper grammar with that is, I find it more easy to, wow. Should I edit this out? I'm not gonna edit this out. I'm just gonna go with it. Cut it this way, and you can get the meat out better. There we go, that's how I'm gonna say it. You can get the spaghetti squash meat out better. That was painful, probably painful to watch and very painful for me to talk through. There's my tip with the spaghetti squash. I hope that making this soup goes a lot more smoothly than the last 30 seconds of this video. So come on in my kitchen and let's make some spaghetti squash chili. Okay friends, it's about mid-afternoon, and so I've let my spaghetti squash baked it, and then I let it completely cool, and so it's gonna be really easy to handle. And I wanted to show you how it comes apart. It should just very easily come apart from the sides of the skin, but should not be mushy. So it should look like noodles, like actual spaghetti squash. So that's how your spaghetti squash should look. Now I'm gonna get going with throwing everything in the pot. So there is the spaghetti squash almost chili. Be sure if you try it that you let me know what you think, and you rate the recipe over at healinghomerecipes.co. The soup's right over on my table. We're gonna have it for dinner tonight. Let me know what you think, especially if you try it with the coconut milk instead of the almond milk substitute. I know a lot of people have said that it's just too sweet with the coconut milk to be a chili, but I really like that sweet and savory mix. That's sort of a strange, sweet, savory blend of chili. So let me know what you think if you try it. And be sure, if you liked this video, that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I loved hanging out with you guys today on our homestead and here in my kitchen. We'll see you guys next week for another video.